Yeah. Okay. This is our last recording.
Yes, it is.
Woohoo! Okay, so we are going to talk about chapter 18 today. So almost there. So in chapter 18, we're going to talk about small group communication. Okay. So there are 6 characteristics of small group. First, it vary in size. So think about like how many people should be in a small group? 3 to 15. Okay. Any number, no, it's okay. Okay. Any number below 3 would be like 1 or 2, will be interpersonal communication. Okay. So from 3 to 15 people is small group. So the major number is between 5 to 7 people when you have a small group. If it's bigger than 7 people, sometimes it's hard to organize and manage. Okay.
Board of directors for large, I'm sorry, I was just going to say board of directors for large companies are sometimes like that, and it makes it hard to function because they have more than 7 people.
Right. And it functions as system. So remember last class or like 2 classes, we talk about family is like systems, right? Small group is like system as well. So each member between you and other member, it's one system. That's why and everybody depends on each other in order to accomplish a task, right? Which lead to next function, next characteristic, maintain task-oriented goal. So usually when you have a group, think about your experience. When you have a group members, have other group members, what you're trying to do, you probably try to finish a class project, a school project, or maybe you work with your co-workers in order to accomplish some task. So usually when you have small group, you are trying to accomplish task. So that's why we say maintain task-oriented goal. It's very important. Okay. And small group is governed by their own norms. Okay, I think from here, Mark, you have some examples here, right? For these 3 characteristics.
Yeah, sure. Every group is different, but each expects certain behaviors from group members, right? And this is where the communication comes in, right? Everyone has to be on the same page and know that like what you're expected from your group, and they create their own identities, and those serve as the boundaries for the group to protect anyone else from joining and destroying its cohesiveness. And even within the group, I was telling Dr. Chang that a group that I'm in recently, they would chat with each other through, instant messaging through Facebook, and about stuff pertaining to the entire group. And 2 people recently decided that they were going to have their own conversation about something in there rather than taking it offline. And one of the guys just said, could you please not do that in our group, because I'm at work and my phone is blowing up every time I'm getting a message from you and it has nothing to do with me. Our group is supposed to be for the task at hand. So it is important, right, to adhere to that. And preserve the member cohesiveness. More connected members feel, the stronger the group will be. I just think the main way to do this is to not have the sideline conversations about each other, as much as you can. It's human nature, I think, to do that, but you've got to really work on that cohesion if you're going to be effective. And good group cohesion comes from a sense of fairness, like we just talked about, equal opportunity to participate, and the sharing of similar attitudes in the actual work being done. If you've ever been in a group and you're being excluded for some reason, or you notice that somebody's feeling excluded because of, how their ideas are being, the reaction to their ideas, that's not good. That will bring the entire group down, because the dynamic, right, is so important to the overall effectiveness of the group.
Right. So there are 6 characteristics of small group. So why do we talk about small group? Why? Because it's important part of our daily life, right? Between you and your family members, between you and your friends in church, or your co-workers, So it's part of our life. Next
Like
one.
we talked about classmates too, you know, with like the group chat that I know that you guys are on, and you know, I'm on there for my classes, right, through like WhatsApp.
Yeah. So yeah, all aspects of society involve some group work. That's why we need to know like, how it functions and how it develops. Next one. Poor communication breaks group apart. Well, you probably have experience that you assign to with certain people for a group project, but in the end, you don't want to talk to these people.
I had that happen in undergrad, and it stuck with me all of these years because we had one person who just wouldn't, and I know you're going to talk about this aspect later, but would not pull their weight, would not do what they were supposed to, but would criticize everyone else for the way they did the work. And we thought, but you're not doing anything you're supposed to. And it affects the entire group because all we ended up doing was talking about him and how frustrated we were with him instead of moving our project forward.
That happens, right? Okay. So here we're going to talk about how group develop. So we're going to talk about two theory, well, one theory and one model. This theory, can you click on, okay? It talks about group naturally progress through 4 phases. So which are these 4 phases? First one, orientation, conflicts, emergence, and reinforcement. And the other one is what we call Tuckman model. There are 5 stages in their lifespan for group, and which are, click one more.
I'm just going to move this out of the way here.
It's okay. It could be forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. So here is a group may skip stage and still be successful at accomplishing their task. But for phase model, phase theory, they go everything. Okay, so let's look at phase theory now. The first theory, first phase is what we call orientation. So this is when you assign to this group, you try to know each other in the group. Okay, next. And group members reach a consensus on the nature of their task. Okay, so you need to solve this problem together. Okay, so what do we need to do? So you come in the group, you will assign each person certain task to finish.
But so important, right? That the group together knows why they're there. Because otherwise, as you're working in all of these other stages, you will keep going back to, that's not why we're here. What we're here for is that. And if you don't all understand that the same or feel like it and take time to do this, because I think groups often pass right by this thinking, oh, everyone knows why we're here. You don't necessarily know.
Yeah, in this case, you will go to next phase, conflict. Okay, because it's then the issue related to their task and debate the best way to move forward. Because they have different ideas about the task, about the project, so they focus on different things. Next. Well, it's sometimes not necessarily negative. It could be constructive argument with each other, right?
Just like we talked about.
The more robust the discussion about different aspects of the task and how it might be solved, the better the group functions. Well, so it could be positive, but most of the time when you have conflict in a group, you start have more negative feelings than positive feelings. Right? Okay, next phase is emergence. So they move from conflict to decision. So maybe because of time, they only have 10 minutes to solve this problem. So when they reach 8 minutes, they say, okay, we still need to make decision, right? So as ideas are exchanged in the phase, group members identify the things on which the group agrees and use the information to form the decision. So no matter what, in the end, they need to give a conclusion. They need to provide a solution. So this is a stage they, maybe not everybody agree, but they have a conclusion.
Right.
This is,
and I think that's the key, right? Is members letting go of those things for the betterment of the group and the betterment, like you're saying, of solving the issue at hand. and letting go of those things that you can, because everyone has to at some point. You're not going to go in getting your way on everything.
And the last phase is what we call reinforcement. So create a strong degree of satisfaction. So after you complete the task, kind of, oh, let's celebrate. Let's just say, yeah, we finished. Like earlier, we say, yes, this is the last chapter. We need to record. We need to celebrate, right? So yes, next. This is especially important with companies, because as a leader in the company, you need to let your members feel, oh, they got some reward from for working here, for putting their efforts for this project, right? So anything you want to add here?
No, that's really important, because that is something, you know, to feel in a corporate environment, to feel appreciated. And so you're going to want to be part of the group the next time. You know, you're going to want to work with these people again, and you learn, and you know, every time you learn something and say, oh, good, I'm going to apply that next time, whether you realize you're thinking that or not. You know, that it's helpful to learn from the conflict.
Okay, and next, let's talk about Tuckman model. So for the forming, it's similar to orientation phase, like you try to know each other. Storming is like conflict. You have different perspectives, you have different ideas. And next one is what we call norming. The group move from conflict to cohesion. Okay, during this stage, group focus on the task, and group role and norms for behavior take shape. So this is similar to the earlier, okay, I need to go back to the earlier stage. Emergence, okay, emergence, no, it's okay. Emergence stage, I'm sorry, just kind of like blank out. Okay, so emergence phase. However, goes next, norming plus next one, performing. So norming plus performing is same as, it's all under emergence phase. Okay, so that's why you need to know. So what's performing stage? Like expand their effort in developing solutions. So earlier, norming, they try to understand each other, try to find a solution. And here they try to finish and work together to complete their assignments. Okay, next one. So here, when group create a unique meaning for the team, experience, or event in the group life, they serve to further strengthen the bond between group members. So it's what we call symbolic convergence. So when we work together, even though you may have arguments, you might just like, you like each other and you have this disagreement, everything together, but in the end, you have your culture in the group. And then let's create a bond between your group members. Next one. So in this stage, they report to each other on the progress. Okay, so basically in this stage, they will say, oh, so what's your progress now? Okay, what did you find? So they try to make sure everybody on the same page, and they work to deal with the project.
This is why it's so important to have done what you say you're going to have done. You know, like I sometimes don't do here when we meet. But
right.
It's really important though in a group, because it not only slows everyone down, people don't know whether to give you assignments in the future, you're going to have it done or not, and sort of all the cohesion breaks up, you know. So you want to have that done so you can report to people, even if that you at least tried, you know, even if you weren't able to get through to people, or you weren't able to get a response to emails or something, at least you're telling them, look, I have done this and this and this. You don't want to go in having nothing, or having just started it 5 minutes before the meeting started, and so there could be no results whatsoever.
And last stage, keep going, adjourning, it's like reinforcement. So you need to, whether it's successful or unsuccessful, you complete the assignment. So again, you need to take time to come back, cool down, and celebrate, whether it's successful or unsuccessful. I think this is very important. Okay, so next, and can you click more? So you can see these two are pretty similar from two different researchers, and that's what they found. Okay, when how group develops through these stages and these phases. Okay.
Next one.
Next. So there are some tasks and responsibility for members who are in the group: recording, commentating, researching, encouraging, challenging, and coordinating. Okay, so why don't you go over some of them now?
Sure. The recording is important, often falls on the secretary. Record a list of decisions made at the meetings. This is so important. Every single thing, because I'm going to remember things differently than Dr. Chang does. She's going to remember things differently than another group member. So this is very important. Commentating, it can be a form of constructive criticism, or you can play the devil's advocate, which means questioning it. In a well-functioning group, all the members can offer ideas and comments to the rest of the group. Yes, what you don't want to be is the person who's doing the devil's advocate all the time, right? Use it a little selectively, because if you don't, people will start, holding back and not wanting to bring up all their views, knowing all you're going to do is question everything. So use that wisely.
Constructively.
Constructively, thank you. And then researching is basically just that. Go out and do your research if you have to on your own, and then have it when you come back. There's the encouraging people, I think, or the encouraging element of responsibility is important. Somebody cheerleading, right? Now, you can't only do that. You've got to do the work too, but being encouraging and cheering people on, I think, is important. You can challenge ideas like we're talking about without being aggressive or nasty. Again, use your I language that we've talked about. Be aimed at ensuring the group consider all potential aspects of an idea before it is adopted. And if you're all focused on the same reason you're there, this is easier to do. It's hard for groups, even groups who work in like a nonprofit sector, and you're like, oh, well, we're here, all of us to help raise money, for hospitalized children. That's what our group does. Right. Stay focused on that. Not on the personalities, not on the who's doing, talking about doing what, talking about the other person, about what they're doing and all that. No, stay focused on that and your group will succeed. And through that, the constant communication between group members to update one another on the progress so that you know where you're at and everybody's working in the same direction. Very important.
Okay, and then can you go back a little bit?
Yes.
Just for a second. So there are 6 responsibilities and tasks for members, but you don't only have one responsibility. Okay, so sometimes you can be encouraging person, cheerleader, at the same time you are a secretary in the group. At the same time you are challenging ideas, so you are very busy in the group, right? So for some groups, you probably only have one responsibility, but most of the time you own multiple tasks and responsibility in the group. Okay, next.
Challenge.
There are some challenges for group work. Oh, I know you have a lot to want to say about it.
I love these. Yeah. I mean, just talking about them, the group think, which is, unanimity. I'm sorry, unanimity. I don't know.
It's okay.
Despite individuals who harbor doubts. You love this, don't you? You love this. Who harbor doubts. So it happens all the time. Like Dr. Chang mentioned, you're under pressure. You want to get something done. You're like, okay, fine, let's do it, without taking time to really, listen to people's ideas, listen to people questioning that. And just for the sake of getting it over and getting home and getting to dinner or getting your kids to bed, you say, okay. Group hate, when individuals have strong negative feelings about the prospect of working in a group. I'll tell you, I told Dr. Chang starting grad school, this was me, because I had kept all from my corporate days and from the PTA days and from the, undergrad days, I had taken all that with me. And now I can tell you, after a year in this program, all of that has changed, because the group work here and the working with people has just been such a great experience that I feel totally different about it. So people
So
will
you changed,
if you-
right?
Hmm?
You
Yeah.
changed. At first, you have group head you don't like, but then you changed.
Tend to be independent, that under group hate, who either do what they want regardless of the will of the group, or they withdraw almost entirely from the project and do not participate. You really want to watch for this, whether you're in charge of the group or not. You need every single person there. When people start to retract, find out why, even if it's as on the side. People who don't participate, not doing their fair share of the work, like the gentleman I told you about from my undergrad days, and they won't participate. That's a real problem, and don't be that person.
Yeah.
Then what's that?
And this one,
we hate these people. For lack of a better word, people who control the discussion and won't listen. So how can you not do this? Take into account what we've talked about all semester, right? The things Dr. Chang has told you about listening, about thinking about the other person, about being a competent communicator. You do that and you will not fall into this trap.
Right. Well, still it's hard.
It's hard.
Yeah. You know all these skills, but the other person doesn't. They just like, okay, how to communicate. That's why I say communication is really hard in real life.
Okay. Very. It's the hardest thing. And just as a quick side note to that, when people are unhappy at their work, listen to people talk about that. Usually at the top of the list is communication. My boss doesn't talk to me right. I don't know what's going on.
It's about communication for sure.
Yeah, hands down, it's the number one thing. Mm-hmm. And then we talked about the irresponsibility of people who like to meet deadlines.
Yeah.
Don't be that.
For all of you probably have had this experience before. Some of your group members just rarely show up, really train their what they need to do for their part, right? Irresponsibility.
And then that's where the communication comes in, right? How do you handle that? Someone else does that. That's where the not being aggressive, but trying to be helpful. What can we do to help you, get this done? And then celebrating, like you said, not only when you're maybe all done with your task, but when that person turns something in, oh, thank you so much. That really helped us having that.
Yes.
Way to go. You surprised us all.
Okay. Oh, this is an activity. So we are going to play this. We are going to provide this in the folder. So what you need to do, you just need to watch these clips and answer which group which challenges of group work here is it? Okay. It's a scenario, situations, group think, group head, non-participation, domination, or irresponsibility. Okay, let us know and tell us why you think this.
Right. And be prepared for this. This is an intense scene from the show Empire. So be prepared, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's some rewards of group work. Efficiency, opportunity to learn from others, and exposure to diverse people. Next. Efficiency. Well, if everybody work well, do their part, then you can finish the task, the project very fast. Okay, and feel very comfortable. Next one, opportunity to learn from others. Since you work with other people, everybody are from different background, have different experience. You can definitely learn something from each person in the group. And also exposed to diverse people, like I said. You probably will have in a group with a person from Nigeria, from Thailand, from Korea. Then you can learn with people from diverse backgrounds, right?
And
you want to add anything?
No, go ahead.
No, do you want to add anything here?
Oh, thank you. I was just going to say, most of the time, you will have nothing to do with that. Your group members, one way or another, will be assigned to you, right? Or you'll decide to work together. So the thing is to work within those parameters, work and celebrate the diversity of those people, right? Don't have it be a situation where the entire time you're just wishing that person wasn't there or wishing things were different. You're not going to get anything done, right?
Mm-hmm.
Operate accordingly within the dimensions of your group, what you have been provided for the task at hand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, and the last part, dialogue. So again, dialogic communication in a group, dialogue in group. First, allow for non-test talk. So what does it mean? Talk something out of your project. Okay, how's your day? What happened in your life? So you try to build more connection, have some emotions with your group members. Okay, paraphrase contributions to ensure understanding. Okay, so basically you want to make sure everybody is on the same page. And exercise turn taking. So sometimes you can be cheerleader, sometimes you can be secretary, sometimes you can commentator. So don't always be cheerleader, but doing nothing. Okay, so that's very important. Take good notes is very important. Okay, so we have different perspective, all have different interpretations for certain events, certain things, informations. So take notes. Be flexible, especially when you work with people from different background, different ethnicities, have different experience. Be flexible based on time and context. And the last thing, engage in constructive conflict. So you will have conflicts. You will have disagreement with your group members, but try to be positive and use constructive strategies in order to deal with conflict. Use what we have learned last chapter or 2 chapters ago. Yeah.
Yeah, because you want to be able to look back, right, and say, oh, how did we deal with that? Boy, you know, this could have been a recipe for disaster, or this was challenging. How did we deal with that? You don't want to look back and have regrets because you didn't follow, you know, some of the dialogic ideas of how to, you know, be the most effective.
Right. Okay. Next, the last thing. Mark, could you talk about this?
Yes. So this is our last video. And cue the band. And so for 5 extra points, Dr. Chang is offering you the ability to answer some survey questions that you'll find in announcements that you can tell us what you thought about class and the videos. You'll get 5 extra points. And we'll also take anything anecdotally, which just means, you know, if you want to comment on what you liked about the videos or didn't like about the videos, you'll have a chance to do that on the survey too. But please take time to answer the questions for extra point, because it'll really help us, you know, going forward, knowing what works in the videos and what doesn't. And be honest.
Yeah. So thank you very much. And we probably will see you in small group to discuss your outline, to discuss your performance, your persuasive speech. Okay, bye-bye.
Wonderful. Bye, everybody. Thanks.